everyone, and welcome back to my booktube channel, Lisa in Bookland. Today I'm here to bring you an original tag called the book cover tag. So a video I'd wanted to make for a while was my favourite book covers, and when I sat down and attempted to do that, there was just too many of different kinds that I liked for different reasons, and because of that I started to categorize them, and then I just thought it might be fun to see what other people liked about book covers and the different opinions that people had, so I created it into a tag. I'm going to tag a good few people and I'll leave them down in the description box. You see that if you'd fancy doing this tag. There are 9 prompts, and for each prompt I've picked 2 books for most of them, and I think for 2 prompts I have 3 books, just because I just couldn't pick between them. So yeah, but feel free to pick however many books you'd like. So yeah, with that, onto the prompts. So the first prompt is books with paintings on them. So for this prompt I've interpreted as the painting doesn't have to be square, but the entire painting, or there has to be a good portion of the painting there, not just a painted flower or something. But you can interpret it whatever way you want. If you also wish to consider photographs, that's fine as well. Of course, paintings on books is a very common thing. Maybe it's fallen a little bit out of fashion in the last few years and is more commonly seen in classics, and even classics are changing a little bit, I think, maybe. But it's personally something I love. I love a good painting, and I love paintings on books. And when I was looking initially, my favourite book covers overall, the vast majority of them did have paintings on the cover. So because it's one of my favourite things on book covers, I've given myself 3 separate sub-prompts. But if it's something you like less, you can just pick overall books that you enjoy with paintings on them. But the first sub-prompt I picked was paintings which are perfect for the book, but they're not commissioned specially for the book. So I have 2 books for this. The first I'm going to talk about is Our Mutual Friend by Charles Dickens. This is obviously a painting of the Thames in London. You can see a rowing boat here in the foreground. And I just love this because obviously Our Mutual Friend is set all in London, but in the opening scenes of this book, Lizzie Hexam, who's one of the main characters, is out in a boat with her father on the Thames because their job is to find things in the Thames, whether it be unfortunately dead bodies or other debris that ends up in there. So that's a really important element to the book, and I just love that it's on the cover, and yeah, it's a perfect picture, and it's a lovely picture of Victorian London. So the other book I'm going to talk about for this sub-prompt is called Union by John Mulcahy. So the union of the title is the Act of Union 1801. Which followed the United Irishmen Rebellion in 1798. So the Act of Union created the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, whereas previously Ireland had been a separate kingdom with its own parliament and things. So the plot of this book is actually set prior to the Act of Union. It is set during the United Irishmen Rebellion in Murrisk in County Mayo, and kind of centres on this gentry family called the Prestons and their tenants, and everything that goes on in Mayo, which kind of was a focus of the rebellion. And I just love it because obviously you have this lady here who maybe is dressed a little bit early for the period, but who knows. And but you also kind of have the rebellion side. That's the soldiers in College Green getting ready to mobilise, I suppose, against the rebels. And not only is the cover beautiful, and maybe it's cheating a little bit, but it actually has the full painting on the flaps. And that's the Parliament before it was dissolved. So yeah, I just thought it was, it even has a portrait of Robert Emmet in the inside. So yeah, it's just a beautiful, beautiful book, and a very good one as well, actually. Yeah, it's just really nice to get some great Irish historical fiction, especially set in West of Ireland. So yeah, really enjoyed that one, and it's a lovely cover. So the second sub-prompt, I suppose, is paintings which you really like but aren't perfect for the book for some reason. The first one I'm going to talk about is North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. I love this edition of this book. The Pan Macmillans can kind of have hit and miss covers for me. I don't like a lot of the paintings that are on them, even though the editions themselves are beautiful. That's why I don't own a huge amount of them. When I'm buying editions of classics, I do tend to buy them more on the basis of the painting on the cover rather than the edition. So yeah, but anyways, this North and South, I always think of that girl as Bessie Higgins, and in the back cover there is a picture of kind of a factory. So it's nice that they had a character and kind of the broader scene on it. So the only thing that's wrong with this is that the whole book kind of revolves around a cotton mill, and I don't think this is cotton that she's working on. It looks like she's weaving on a loom with wool or something, so it's the wrong type of factory, but it gets the message across, and I really enjoyed it. And the back could be anything really. So yeah, no, it's I love this edition of of North and South, even though it's a pity it doesn't have like any notes in it, as the Panaquillans don't. As of yet, it's the only one I own. So the next one I'm going to talk about is this one, Nelson's Arctic Voyage, the Royal Navy's first polar expedition, 1773. I love this painting. It's very much, I suppose, like you'd see in a magazine for young boys in the Victorian period or something, which is, you know, probably the whole point. But you know, it is a great painting. Like, look at the polar bear, he looks terrified of a little boy. This is a really good book. Like, the title was given to this book to sell it. Like, Nelson is really a minor figure in it. It's about his first voyage as a midshipman, and he actually ended up going to the Arctic when he was 14, which actually was against the rules. Boys that young weren't supposed to be sent to the Arctic. But yeah, the story goes that he wanted to go and get a polar bear skin for his father, so that he snuck off the ship with another boy to try and hunt down a polar bear. I think this book, from memory, it does go through that, like, it probably was sensationalized a little bit. This painting probably isn't very accurate to what actually happened, but nevertheless, it's still a great painting and great fun to look at. So yeah. It is a lovely cover. I love like blue covers or anything with snow. I'm probably going to pick it up. So yeah, great one. And the final painting subcategory then, sorry, this is probably going to be a very long tag, is paintings that are commissioned for books. And this is something I feel really strongly about and I wish it's done more often. I just love it, and I have 3 books here because I couldn't pick between them which ones I liked best. And do you know what's the saddest thing about this is they've all been like, these books are all in print again, but like without these paintings. I can't understand why publishers would pay an artist to make these lovely paintings and then stop using them. It's probably just, like I said, they've maybe gone out a little bit out of style or something. But yeah, so the first one I'm going to talk about is the Sharp books. So Sharp has gone through many editions, and I only have 2 of these red ones, which I love. And I think they only were for like the original 11 books or something. These editions were there, but I just love these editions so much because there's special paintings painted for them, and you can tell all the characters and like the uniforms are right. This one in particular is just such an important moment in the book, and I just love it. It's on the front cover. So I love the Sharp books, but I love these in particular. Like, I don't like some of the other editions as much. We'll come across one of them later, but yeah, I just love those ones. I suppose these are a similar story. The Patrick O'Briens, they've only really recently released new editions that don't have these paintings on them, but I love all of the paintings which are especially commissioned from Jeff Hunt, who's a wonderful maritime artist. And this one is the very first one, Master and Commander. And again, I just love that you can tell who all the different characters are and the attention to detail. Like, you can see Jack only has one epaulette and it's on the correct side for a Master and Commander. And yeah, there is Dylan just going out to the ship. So it's just, I love Jeff Hunt's work anyways. But yeah, just kind of the combination of like the yellow and blue and just the scene it is. It just, I suppose I'm very attached to this book as the first in the series. I just really enjoyed this cover, and yeah, and I like these ones as well because they even the more recent reprints of these, that kind of, the painting is smaller, but these old editions, they're lovely. And finally, you'd be happy to know is some of the old Maeve Binshie's, and this one in particular is Circle of Friends. And like, again, I just love that this painting was very obviously done, especially for the book. Even the back cover, you can kind of, like, these 2 houses, the cottage and the big house, are important parts of the book. And Benny with her red hair, and Jack with the UCD scarf. There's just like such attention to detail. So yeah, I just love this portrait of Knockglen, and it's a great read as well, but an even better cover. And that's why I keep this very battered copy, because the cover painting to me is more important than the condition of the actual book. So on to the next prompt. So TV and film tie-ins. So I know that these are really controversial and some people don't like any of them. If you don't like any of them, maybe you can say your like least favourite one just for a bit of fun. But I do have 2 personally on my shelves. I don't actually mind. Like, I'd never go out and actively buy them. If I see them in a charity shop or gifted them and there was one of each situation in this case, I don't really mind, you know, if they're cheap. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. So it's weird that I don't mind this one because I've never actually seen the Wolf Hall series on television. But maybe that's why I like it. Maybe, you know, I don't have an opinion about the characterization of Cromwell, so I don't mind the tie-in. But I just think it's a fairly like inoffensive cover. It's like brown. Your man does look fairly like the painting of Cromwell, so yeah, it's grand for me, and I quite like this one. And again, you've heard me talk about this book enough times. It's a great book. So the next one that is probably definitely a bit more controversial, and that's Atonement by Ian McEwan. So it obviously has like James McAvoy and Keira Knightley on the cover, and the reason I don't mind this book is because I absolutely love the film, and I really like Keira Knightley and James McAvoy. So yeah, I like, when I'm reading Atonement, I'm probably thinking of them anyways, so I don't mind. I'm not sure, but I'm almost certain I saw the film Atonement before reading the book, which probably influences it as well. I just love like the typewriter written font and the Bryony at the side. So yeah, it's a nice book, and I really enjoy it. I haven't reread it for a while actually. So the next prompt is not relating to the cover, but relating to the spine. So to pick your favourite book spines. So there's like varying amounts of effort put into book spines. I should have said earlier, I don't know anything about book publishing. I don't, apart from what I hear on BookTube. So these are just my own assumptions and opinions that are probably completely wrong, but that's fine. There are two in particular on my shelves I enjoy the book spines of. And the first I'm going to talk about is this one, The Binding by Bridget Collins, which has this kind of goldy kind of cover, but isn't the book spine great? I'm sure it's even nicer on the hardback, but I don't have the hardback, unfortunately, just the paperback. But I love how it's kind of mocking up a kind of old-fashioned book, and it's got the like gold foiling, so it's lovely. Can you imagine if all books were forced to have this kind of spine in different kind of muted colours? It'd be like a poor man's old-fashioned library. It'd be wonderful. So yeah, but I do really enjoy this one, and again, a very good book. And a different one, I suppose, is this biography of Emma Hamilton that I read earlier in the year and really enjoyed as well. And it's very simple mainly, but I just love the fact that, sorry, it's probably hard to see with like the crack on the spine, sorry, it was secondhand. I don't know if I made it or the person before me, but I just love that they made a decision like just to include her eye from the portrait. Like, it's just really piercing, I suppose, and yeah, just really striking choice. So yeah, really enjoyed that one as well. So the next one then is your favourite non-fiction covers. So I have three for this again, because again I couldn't pick between them. The first one I'm going to talk about is this one, Endeavour by Peter Moore. So I love it's kind of divided into three, and it's not actually all from one painting that's divided by blue lines. It looks like maybe these two might be from the same one, but definitely this isn't, because you can just like that, what kind of mountain would that be? But I suppose one of the things about this book is that this ship, the Endeavour, had so many different lives. It was a collier, and then it made that famous voyage to the Pacific under James Cook, and it actually also was in the American War of Independence. So yeah, the three different pictures, I suppose, just kind of mean it's three like different lives, and I love that. And yeah, it's just beautiful. Again, blue book. At the end I should count up how many of these books the main colour is blue, because I seem to be attracted to it. So the next one then, I suppose, I haven't actually read yet, but it's got more of a modern cover, and it's this one, The Handover, Dublin Castle and British Withdrawal from Ireland 1922 by John Gibney and Kate O'Malley. I love this graphic that's on the front. Like, it does show the gates of Dublin Castle, but kind of stylised. And one of the things that Dublin Castle was most known for, especially during the War of Independence, I suppose, was like espionage. It was like the centre of British administration in Ireland, but also like, I suppose, the British intelligence in Ireland. And these people do kind of, I know that's what people dress like at the time anyways, but just because they're like silhouetted, they do look like maybe they could be spies. And the garage there, and yeah, even the gate kind of closing behind them. It's just a great picture, and yeah, very striking book. So yeah, I am looking forward to reading this. It was on my priority reads for 2022, so I think I will be reading this one in December. And the final book I picked for this prompt, let me see, it's so heavy. It's a book that I dip in and out of, and it's also about Ireland. It is actually so heavy. It's called Atlas of the Irish Revolution, edited by John Crowley, Donal O'Driscoll and Mike Murphy. So this is like quite a well-known painting, and I have at least one other book with it on it, but it's not only the painting, which is beautiful, especially like blown up with this, and you can kind of see the canvas, but also I just love the title and the way that the text is done. It's just really effectively designed. So yeah, I dip in and out of this one because it's a very big book, and it's kind of more, it's got loads of like pictures and documents and case studies and things. So yeah, I haven't got the Atlas of the Great Irish Famine yet, but I would like to, so once I finish with this one. So yes, I'm going to put this down now because it's very heavy. I suppose it's sad to bring the tone down, but the next thing I'm going to talk about is my least favourite book covers. And you know, I don't like to say that I hate any book covers, because some of them do have like redeeming features, and sometimes and a lot of times if I really enjoy the book, I do know the book cover doesn't matter a huge amount to me, but these two are just, yeah, they're just not great in my opinion. And the first one I'm going to talk about is this one, Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray. So I do have a nicer Pan Macmillan edition of it, which I still don't really love the cover of, but this one, I suppose, it is from the Wordsworth Classics. These books, let's just say they make strange decisions with their covers. We'll come across another one in a second. But this one, I think it's just so obvious that the person who chose this photo or painting or whatever it is has not read the book. Like, I mean, I assume this is supposed to be Becky Sharp, but the clothes are completely wrong. It's a Victorian book that's set in the Regency period. This woman doesn't look like she's from either period. And it's like, oh, vanity, we should like put her looking in a mirror. You know, the mirror could be cracked to show that she's like hiding something inside her. I assume that was the thought process, but it didn't really work out. But you know, these editions are super cheap. So I assume that a lot of money doesn't go into selecting these things. So yeah, it's grand. And I did like, they're grand editions to read. I don't really feel bad battering them up, and they definitely do get worn. So yeah, that's Vanity Fair. Great book, not a great picture. So the other one I'm going to talk about relates to Sharp. Like I said before, I mentioned that there's editions I don't like. This probably isn't even the most offensive one. I really hate the TV tie-in ones, and I have Sharp's rifles and TV tie-in. But these ones, I guess it's just because sometimes they're the only ones you can find in them. It's just like, again, they have the lovely paintings. They got rid of it and like stuck it in tiny little section like above the author's name here, and I just don't like the text, and I don't know, I just don't like the big focus on like that rifle that Harper has. So yeah, it's not great. I wish they'd stuck with the red ones, which are beautiful. So the sixth prompt is covers that you like in a weird way, if you know what I mean. You know, they're not traditionally beautiful books, but you know, they still work for you. The first I'm going to talk about actually is one that I probably did get a bit of Stockholm syndrome with, and that is War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. Got this book as a present for Christmas, and I was like, what in the world is that? Like, I mean, like the painting, it looks like it's maybe been painted by somebody in secondary school, like quite a gifted person for like for the main character in the foreground here, who I suppose is supposed to be Natasha, and she's wearing roughly the correct kind of clothes, but like, what's the deal with the perspective? And like the trees, it looks like they've forgotten to paint some parts, but in the end I actually kind of liked it. And you know, they've kind of got all the figures in, like they've got Natasha and they got the two characters in military uniform here, so yeah, I actually got kind of fond of it in the end, just because I suppose it took me so long to read the book. So yeah, it was an odd kind of success, and it's on the side as well with this, and because it's so bloody big, you get loads of space for it. So yeah, I actually quite like this one. I suppose you shouldn't say no to Wordsworth Classics automatically. Give them a chance. So the other one I'm going to talk about for this prompt is this beautiful 1960s edition of Seek the Fair Land by Walter Mackin. It's an Irish historical fiction book that starts off in the massacre of Drogheda when this man flees with his children. It's set in an Ireland that is being terrorised by Oliver Cromwell's troops. And yeah, it's just such a striking image of the crow and the skull and the sword through the book. Like, I don't think it has an immediate relevance to things in the book. Like, at no point does it be like, oh, and then a crow sat on a skull on a book. But it's just yeah, like, you'd never forget this book cover, and it's very grim, but I really, really like this cover, and it's actually the first in the trilogy. I've not read the other two books yet, but this first book is really good, and not a time period I've read a lot about in fiction, those like dark days of Oliver Cromwell. So yeah, great book, and yeah, just a brilliant cover. It's not a first edition, but probably is a second edition or something. So the seventh prompt is, I don't really know what to call these, but like books that kind of more modern style or kind of abstract covers, not like abstract art, but kind of, when you see them you'll know what I mean. I don't know why I'm going to put the actual text for this prompt, but anyways, if somebody knows the terminology for this, please tell me, because I don't know it. But yes, the first thing I'm going to talk about, I read way back at the start of the year. I think I got it for last Christmas, and that's this book We the Drowned by Karsten Jensen, and it's translated from the Danish, and I just love this book. Blue again, blue and white, what a great, unbeatable colour scheme. And this book, I'll just hold it up, it's got like lovely blue and white, all the different types of ships, because it's set over a long time period. There's a plane on the back. This actually is a lovely book spine as well. But I just love the way that the water is drawn, but also just, as I said, all the different types of ships, because this book is set over the course of, I don't know, like 200 or 300 years at least. You know, from the age of like sailing ships to like the Second World War, which is where the plane and the more modern warship come from. And yeah, just the people here, you know, the whole book is narrated from the perspective of people who have drowned, hence the title. So yeah, I just like that there's a person in the water there as well. So yeah, it's just brilliant. A brilliant book and a great cover. Definitely like made me pick it out when I saw it. So the next one I'm going to talk about I actually haven't read yet, and that's The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry, which I know is quite a booktube favourite. I just love the gold foiling and like these dandelions and just the yellow and the green with the snake. It's just a beautiful book. I can't really say any more about it because I haven't read it, but yeah, again, it definitely encouraged me to pick it up when I saw people holding it up. I don't always love these type of covers on books. Like, I don't think they tell you an awful lot about the book, and like maybe that's like the purpose, and obviously that's the point of like the blurb, but yeah, they don't stick in my mind quite as much as the books with like paintings on them, which are my favourite, as I've said. Like, do you know, this book, the binding, like as much as I love the book and I love the spine, I do wish maybe the cover had a bit more to it, even though I understand what they're trying to do in this case. But yeah, do you know, I just, in general, I just prefer the paintings, but like, this is a lovely book, no doubt. So the 8th prompt for this tag is book covers that you only understand after reading the book, and these are probably like the most special covers, aren't they? They're just that little bit extra great. So I have 2 picked out for this, and the first one that I'm going to talk about is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. So when I was talking about this book initially, I said that I was looking at the paperback and the hardcover in the shop, and I did something I very rarely do and got the hardcover instead of the paperback. And it's just, yeah, I just love this cover. So first of all, let's just appreciate the naked hardback. It's just lovely with the kind of copperish lettering and the different pillars. So maybe it's weird, and obviously the ink papers are lovely as well, but maybe it's weird me saying I love this cover because the cover actually alienated me from the book initially, because I thought it was going to be way too kind of like about classics for me because of the fawn and the pillars, and it just looked like it might be a bit highbrow for me, but like, although it's a wonderful book, it's definitely not inaccessible anyway. I just love these kind of swirly patterns at the bottom. And see, even here, like the barcode is crooked, you know, just that it's in the swirly stuff. I'm not going to even describe why any of these things are here, because I think it's more fun if you just find out from reading the book. But yeah, it's a brilliant book, and I just love this cover design and like the kind of coppery stuff on it. It's really nice. So yeah, if one of these didn't have the sticker there, I guess why they wanted to put it. I just wish you could peel it off. So the second book I want to talk about for this prompt is my favourite book. I always get worried when I say that, but like tentatively at least it's my favourite book. And it's the wonderful The Kingdoms by Natasha Pulley. As I've talked about at length before, especially in my review that I did, you could put barely anything on the cover of this without spoiling an aspect of the plot. So I just love the choice that was made here, just the swirling stairs that you know, you don't really understand what they are until you get into the book a little bit. And even you can see the bottom is kind of water, and some of here looks kind of a little bit dilapidated, and it's just perfect. And as you can tell by running my fingers over it, it's kind of raised text, some of it. So yeah, I just thought that's a brilliant cover. Like, from people talking about this, I was excited to read it. Like, you know, I liked the sound of it, but the cover again nearly put me off buying it in the shop because it just looked a bit like boring. But once you read the book, you really appreciate the cover. So yeah, I've seen the paperback with like a lighthouse on it, and I don't like that one nearly so much. I'm glad that I did get this hardback. So the final prompt for this then is, the whole function of the cover, I suppose, is to make you buy the book, not so you can admire it after reading the book. I want you to give examples of books that you bought based on the cover. I picked 2 recent ones, I know, as if I need any more books, but I couldn't really resist these on a recent trip to Dublin when I was in Hodges Pages. First I'm going to talk about is Chouette by Claire Oshesky. It's just this owl, the way his head is contorted, and like, even I just literally spotted it. No, I'll just have something smaller. I'll make it in a second. Hi, it's me at a later date, as you can tell, in a different place. After I had that lovely interruption, I turned off the camera and I forgot to turn it back on again. I was just saying, when I was holding up this book, I noticed for the first time what the owl was actually looking at, and it's this squirrel that Hand is holding up, and that's what he's looking at. So yeah, it's just a really striking cover design, and yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this one. It's about how a girl called Chouette seems to be born with a good few deformities, and how her mother thinks that she's perfect the way she is, and I suppose helps her find like self-worth and things. So yeah, really looking forward to this one. And it's not too long either, so yeah. So the next one that I suppose is a book that is designed to appeal to book lovers, I suppose, in a stereotypical way. A lot of book lovers like cats, I know I certainly do, and that's The Cat Who Saved Books by Suzuki Natsukawa. So yeah, you can see that it's this beautiful gold foiling that catches the eye straight away, and just like the orangey yellow and the light, and the very mysterious looking cat on top of the stack of books. So yeah, apparently this book has been translated into 40 different languages, but what a beautiful cover, and it certainly made me want to pick it up, and even more when I looked in and saw the blurb, and I saw that it's about this boy who runs a secondhand bookshop with his grandfather. Grandfather unfortunately passes away, and it looks like the bookshop is going to have to close, but this talking cat appears and says that he needs the boy's help with something. So yeah, it sounds intriguing, and hopefully it will live up to this lovely cover. While I'm in the move today, I just took a 5-minute break off work to record that quick clip, and you can see that my cat Sherlock has commandeered my chair. So yeah, that's Sherlock. I'll have to evict him now in a second. Brat. So yeah, that's it for the book cover tag. Thanks for sticking with me through all of these books I now need to put away. I'm sorry if anybody that I've tagged, if I caused them a lot of extra work by doing that. It was definitely interesting to think about what I like in a book cover and what I don't like. As promised, I did count up the number of books that had some kind of blue as a major colour on the cover. And there were 8, which is a good bit. Like, blue books are probably my thing. Again, no pressure to do this if you don't fancy it, but yeah, would love to hear all the same people's opinions on book covers. And yeah, tell me in the comments how much a book cover influences your decision. Like, maybe I think book cover used to influence my decision on whether to buy a book more in the past, when I picked up more probably books on impulse, rather than having heard about them on BookTube or other social media first. So now, you know, the book cover is maybe a little bit more secondary, but I'd still say it's quite important to me, especially with classics. If you've got more than one edition, it is nice to pick a cover that suits you. So yeah, if I haven't tagged you and you fancy doing it, please go ahead. I'd love to hear your thoughts. There are so many more categories I could have created for this tag, but I decided I'd better stick to the 9, as it was probably already too long. But yeah, let me know any thoughts you have at all, and thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next Thursday for my next video.